Good evening, Woodruff Wolverine fans. Welcome to another edition of the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. We're live here at Tap 3 on Main Street, Woodruff, South Carolina, for another edition of our Coaches Show. We are pumped to be here tonight. Thank you to Tap 3 for hosting, as always. We've got a packed room here tonight to talk a little bit of Woodruff football. And our guest tonight, the Wolverine legend himself, Mr. Garrett Mitchell. We talked about, it's been several weeks ago, we talked about setting up a time for you to come on and be on the podcast, the Coaches Show here. So pumped to have you here tonight. Thank you for coming in and talk with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. Happy to be out. Tell you what, it's a great thing that we do with the Coaches Show, something that was started, I believe, by you 2 years ago, 2023. And I think it connects the community to what we're doing with Woodruff football program. So awesome to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. It's always good to get to talk with you about Woodruff athletics, sports in general. I think you're probably notoriously widely known for your knowledge of Woodruff athletics,
among other things.
We can use the word notorious for other things, but we'll leave it at that for the time being. The Peanut Gallery had some responses to that.
Yeah,
that's
right. We see Lee Smith back there.
But anyway, I knew this was going to be a fun night for everybody. And Garrett, let's start a little bit with kind of how you got into the sort of the sports statistic world and everything. And I'll give everybody a little bit of a background. I know during your junior, senior high school time at Woodruff, you kind of had a relationship with Coach Varner, and he took you under his wing a little bit and had you doing some statistics for basketball specifically. I know was one of the main things you were doing, and you and Coach Varner kind of hit it off and were really close. And he had a big influence on your life for the last couple years of your high school career. I don't know if you want to speak to that for a minute, but I know that's kind of where it got started for you as far as statistics and sports goes.
Right. And every story has a beginning, and that was really the beginning of mine. And the way that Coach Varner and I's relationship came to be was at the time, especially coming out of the 8th grade, moving to the high school, I'd been going through some rough times as a student at that point in my life. And so the district administration thought it would be beneficial if I had somebody who was a mentor type to me, somebody who could even put their foot down when they had to. And, of course, anybody that knows Willie Varner knows that there was nobody better for the job than that. So he and I were really joined at the hip from the start of my freshman year. And it was in the 10th grade that he decided that I needed an extracurricular activity. And as it happened, the job of basketball statistician was available. So he asked me if I would do the basketball stats. I said, of course I would. Basketball was the first sport that I loved growing up. And so 25 years later, really more than 25 years later now, here I am. So this last basketball season was actually my 25th as the varsity basketball statistician. So still going strong after a quarter century.
That's crazy. And I know you moved over a little bit into the PA announcement world for basketball and other gym events, being able to be the PA announcer for some of those events, as well as keeping the stats. Let's talk a little bit about your book. So Garrett has written a book. Now tell me, is it how many years ago now did it come out?
Right. So the genesis of the book actually began during COVID, during the worst of COVID, when everything was shut down. Obviously, we didn't have sports. We couldn't go to games. And so I had to have something to write about. I had to have something to occupy my mind.
Yeah.
And so what I did, Brad, was I went back and began researching a lot of the old Woodruff athletic history, going really all the way back to around the turn of the century. Turn of the 20th century. And what I was able to uncover really were just a series of tremendous stories, a lot of awesome people from through the generations that have made an impact on athletics here in Woodruff that had great stories to tell. And the original plan was to do, at the time, the Woodruff Times was printing just one issue a month. And so the plan was to do one story a month for 12 months. We thought by that point, the worst of COVID would be over. We would get back to normal. And so once I started researching these stories, doing them and publishing them, they were so well received, I decided to keep going into a second year. And that's when Tracy Sanders came to me and said, what would you think about publishing this as a book once it's all said and done? So I really like the idea. What was supposed to be 12 stories turned into about 24, 25. And we put them all together and we compiled them into the book. And we called it We Are the Wolverines, which I think encapsulates everybody that's ever worn the maroon and gold or had a part in that. They say it takes a village, and that's exactly what it is. So we all are the Wolverines.
Yeah, man. And I have the book, and it's really a good sort of snapshot of a lot of years of athletics in Woodruff. Some really cool stories. Not only covers Coach Varner in football, but it covers a lot of the other sports as well. And I think it's a real tribute to the athletic sort of history that we have here in Woodruff for a long, long time, going like you said, going way back to the 20s. I think is it 1926 is the oldest picture we have in the gym. I can't remember what year that was.
Actually, the oldest picture in the high school gym is from 1903.
Okay.
That's the 1903 state championship baseball team. And Brad, interesting story. One of the members of that team, Grover Lanford, his father was actually a friend of my grandfather's, and so we're going way, way back here. But Grover Lanford played for the Washington Senators. He was the first professional athlete to come out of Woodruff. His roommate with the Washington Senators was the big train Walter Johnson.
No way. I had no idea. Sis, every time I talk to you, Garrett, I learn something new that I didn't know. So let's talk a little bit about Wolverine football. We had a big win over the Emerald Vikings this past week, in dramatic. Let's say dramatic fashion. I don't know how we want to use the terminology. I know you were there and watched it live. I was actually watching it on a live stream video, but just a tremendous effort by our kids. And I know you were there to witness it in person. Give us your take on what you saw Friday night.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know he's waiting his turn to come up. We've got our head coach, Brett Sloan, here, but I don't know that he heard me say this on Friday night, but I'll say it now. The best way I can describe the first half was like an episode of The Twilight Zone that we just couldn't escape from, but it seemed like nothing that we did was we were spinning in place, for lack of a better way of saying it, and Emerald was able to hit a couple of big plays. And credit to them. Look, they're a really talented ball club with some great athletes, but and what true champions do, and teams with the heart of a champion, is they find a way to battle through adversity and they find a way to fight back. That's exactly what this Woodruff team did, Brad, and it started. We've got one of the heroes right here to the left. Addison Davis had a big interception right toward the end of the first half, was able to return it inside the 30-yard line, and we got on the board and were able to get that first score up on the board with about a minute to play in the first half, and I really felt like that took a bit of the pressure off. So the defense comes out second half. You get a 3-and-out very quickly. You put another score on the board, and once it started rolling, it's like a tsunami. Once the wave started rolling in, there just wasn't really anything Emerald could do to stop it. And the end result was 50 unanswered points in essentially 2 quarters. And in my 24, 25 years of Woodruff football, I can honestly say I'm not sure that I've seen a game take quite that trajectory.
No, I recall a couple of games that were, 70 to 60 and, a ton of points racked up. I can't recall a game when we went 50 straight unanswered points to overcome a 22-point deficit, I guess. And so just super impressive. We knew from Emerald's JV from a year or two ago, they're pretty speedy, they're pretty athletic, and once again, give them credit. Those guys, they played really hard. Height is he's a pretty good quarterback, and being able to be the field general out there for Emerald, and we thought going in that it was going to be a tough game for sure. So
right, and Brad, I want to point this out too. The JV game on Thursday night took on much of the same trajectory as the varsity game did. Emerald led that game 31-14 with 6 minutes to play in the ball game and had the football. And the Wolverines were able to score 20 unanswered points in the final 6 minutes, stormed back and won that one 34-31. And so, what you had last week were two really thrilling, gray hair inducing football games.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the JV team, because the JV guys were kind of under the same, little bit different circumstance, but they were behind in the fourth quarter and just rattled off enough points to pull out the win there in the end. So shout out to the JV team for getting on the board with a win this year over a pretty tough Emerald team. And it's always good when you can see our lower level teams winning and putting it all together to have a good season as well.
No, that's absolutely right. And look, it starts at the lower levels, and you've got talent down there just like you have talent at the varsity level, and that goes into feeding a program. And right now I feel like we've got probably one of the more fluid programs in terms of development and strength training and what we're able to put on the field every week. I'd put us up there with anybody in the state just in terms of our technical capabilities and our coaching staff and what we're able to do to provide opportunities for our athletes.
Yes, sir. And a lot of people may or may not know, but one of your Friday night responsibilities is chain gang, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, how many years have you been doing chain gang now?
So this season is my 23rd. I started in 2003 when I was 18 years old was my first full season. And again, I kind of came about that by happenstance as well. I worked my first game as a senior in high school in 2003. And I can still remember we were playing Carolina High School at home. It was the second to last game of the season. And myself, Randy Grant, and Coach Varner, God rest both of them, we were all sitting in the open-air press box over on the visitor side. And Karen Neal, who was our principal at the time, we see her come walking up the bleachers. And she yells up there and said, "Hey, we need somebody to fill in on the chain crew tonight because I believe it was Bill Black and I think it was Pee Wee maybe could not have been there that night. So we had two guys out. They needed somebody to fill in, so I did. Fell in love with it immediately. Found out that night from Flynn Harrell that 2 spots were coming open after that season. I asked him point blank after one game if I could have one of those spots. He said, "If you want it, you've got it." And then Ray Sherbert joined on at the same time in 2003, and Ray and I held the sticks together for the next 20 years, and then Ray stepped aside a few years ago, but over the years, 23 years, you see a lot of good football games, and I've seen some that will definitely go in the memory bank, might even make it into the next book.
Yeah, that's definitely a different bird's eye view from that viewpoint of the game. You see things a little bit differently than you do in the stands, and you probably hear some things differently than you hear in the stands. So I'm sure you've got some stories over the years. What's is there a favorite coach, opposing coach, opposing team, opposing school moment, anything that stands out particularly to you from a chain gang standpoint over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. And Brad, I tell people in private circles, I have a list of my favorite teams and coaches I've been on the sideline with, and I have a list of my not favorite teams and coaches. Now, I'm not going to list my not favorites. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I can tell you unequivocally who some of my favorites to be on the sideline with are. And I've always said that Abbeville, Jamie Nichols and Abbeville, simply a class act group.
Sure.
You could not ask for a better team and a better group of players and coaching staff to be on a sideline with. And not to mention some of those games were absolute barn burners as well. But they're always a class group. And Clinton, which is one of the oldest rivalries in the state. You've got Coach Corey Fountain there. Before that, Andy B. Young, but the Clinton Red Devils are always a class group as well. And even though it was only a one-off game, the 2011 Upper State Championship game against Strom Thurmond with their coach Lee Sawyer at the time, another great group to be on the sideline with. And that was one of those nights that, if you were a part of it, you'll remember it forever.
Yeah, that was a special night for sure, because Strom Thurmond had solidified themselves as one of the premier programs in the state for a lot of years, and to be able to beat them that night at home at W.O. Varner, that was a special moment for the program, because we had a drought. We'd had a state championship drought for quite a while. Being able to go back, that was definitely that's one that's on my list as well. So let me throw this one out. Do you have a particularly special Coach Varner moment, Coach Varner story? I know there's probably 1,000. I wish we had time to share them all. But if you could pick out one or two kind of special Coach Varner moments, what would you tell somebody if you had to pick one or two?
All right. Well, that's actually a loaded question, but I'll do my best. So I'll answer the first part of that question in general terms. And for me, it's simply the memories that we made. And I tell people, I think that I got to know him at a time in his life where he had been away from coaching for so long. And by that point, he was already in his 70s, and he was working as the assistant principal. But I saw a side of him that I don't think a lot of people that played for him necessarily got to see. And I describe it as more of a kinder, gentler, grandfatherly side. And so, I was able, by the time I was a junior and senior in high school, I was riding with him to away games, and Randy Grant would always drive his big gold Buick, and I would sit in the front, and Coach Varner would sprawl out in the back seat, and we would go to all these away games, and, just the knowledge and the camaraderie and talking about the game, I would say as a general statement, those are some really cool memories at times that I cherish. But I'll give you one moment in particular, and this has absolutely nothing to do with a Woodruff football game or basketball game, but one that just stands out, and I can laugh about it even today. So you probably remember when the movie Radio came out with Cuba Gooding Jr., Ed Harris, and right around the time that movie came out on VHS, Coach Varner had a heart procedure to have a pacemaker put in. The day that he had his pacemaker put in, I still remember him coming home, and his daughter, Tony Sloan, had asked me if I would come over and spend the night with him and just keep an eye on him, stay with him that night. Of course, I wasn't going to turn that down. It was 2004. I was about a year out of high school, and Radio had just come out on VHS. On the way home from the hospital, she had stopped and bought that movie because he wanted to watch it. And so he got home, he got comfortable in his easy chair, got ready to watch the movie. He dispatched me on down to Little Caesars. He loved Little Caesars pepperoni pizza. So I went down to Little Caesars, got us 2 pepperoni pizzas, ordered Crazy Bread. We came back and we put the movie Radio in. And the further we got into that movie, he would stop at different points in the movie, give the classic Coach Varner scowl and say, "That's not how that happened. That didn't happen like that." Keep in mind, he knew the T.L. Hanna coach from that time period. They were friends and they communicated with one another.
Right.
And so he knew about these real life events as they happened. And so sitting there watching him pick apart and critique a movie that he actually had some real life knowledge of was in the comfort of his living room. That was a pretty cool moment, and one that has always stuck out to me.
Man, that's awesome. I've had tons of people on the Coaches Show who obviously had a relationship with Coach Varner over the years, who former players, former coaches, all those kind of things. And it's always awesome to me to hear the different perspective that people had, the relationship they had with him. But I know that the relationship you had with him was super special. And I know you're incredibly thankful to have had that time with him, and maybe a little bit of different insight to his life and at the time in his life when he was moving out of coaching. I really think it was a special time for you to be able to be there and be a part of his life at that point at his coaching career.
No, it really was. And Brad, I tell you what, I'll divulge something while I'm up here on the stage that The people who know me the best, they do know this, and I think you know this as well. It's something I've told you in the past, but I'll tell people something that they might not know about me, and that's Friday night football. I have a whole laundry list of superstitions, and that's just, it comes with the territory when it comes to the teams that I love. But probably my most deeply held superstition is on Friday nights during football season. And you talk about the closeness of the relationship I had with Coach Varner. I still try to maintain that even 16 years after he left us. The last thing I do before I go to the stadium, whether it's home or away on Friday nights, is I go down to the cemetery and I just stand there and for about 3 or 4 minutes have a quick talk with him and converse best we can between his side and this about the game that night. And I think it's just kind of my little way of maintaining that closeness even after all of these years.
Man, that's really awesome to know that. I don't think you had ever told me that before. That's pretty cool to know that that's something that you do as a little superstition ritual or whatever term you want to use. But that's pretty cool, man. Well, dude, I sincerely appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely, pleasure's been mine.
And we'll have to set up another time for you to come back and do it again sometime. If not this season, we'll do it again next season.
Well, my phone's always on and I'm always on call. So you just say when and I'll be here.
Fantastic. Tell everybody a little bit again where we can pick up We Are the Wolverines book. Give us some links and some places where we can pick up your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tracy Sanders and Veriva Harris, co-owners of the Woodruff Times, they actually have a supply of hard copies on hand. And so you can actually contact Tracy at thewoodrufftimes.com or Veriva at thewoodrufftimes.com, or it's also available on Amazon. So all you have to do, if you've got an Amazon account, you can go on there, just search for the book. You can search for it under my name or search for the title, We Are the Wolverines, and it should pop up and you should be able to get it there. Amazon will ship it right to you. So several ways that you can pick it up if you don't have a copy of it already. And if you do decide to grace me and go out and pick one up, if you see me out and about, bring me a pen. I'll even sign it for you, and that part's free.
Fantastic, man. Well, once again, thanks for your time, bud. Sincerely appreciate you coming in. And we're going to take a break for just a couple minutes. We are live here at Tap 3 on Main Street, Woodruff, South Carolina, with the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. In just a couple minutes, we're going to be up. We're going to bring up Coach Brett Sloan to talk about our win against the Emerald Vikings this past Friday. And we're also going to be able to talk about our upcoming game this Friday as well. You guys stay tuned, and we're going to be back in just a couple seconds. All right, Woodruff Wolverine fans, we are back. Once again, we are live at Tap 3 on Main Street in Woodruff, South Carolina with the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. As always, thanks to Ben Harrison and everybody at Tap 3 for hosting us every Tuesday night. Great crowd here tonight, Coach. Got some of our players and players' parents.
Player
and,
families.
all kinds of folks here. We even have a South Carolina High School League referee in our presence tonight. Hopefully,
Lee Smith's present.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anybody.
Garrett's got a hold of him, so he's ignoring us.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anybody slip him any money or anything like that. So we should be good.
We should be okay.
Yeah, but Coach, I wanted to start it off by saying this. Last Tuesday, I believe you and I both said it at least twice, that if you wanted to see a great high school football game, you needed to show up at Emerald on Friday night.
We said that
And
I
just want to reiterate the fact that we told you so. And
it was certainly an interesting high school football game.
Well, Coach, I have seen a lot of high school football games, and typically the way that our Wolverines played the first half, the game doesn't end up like it did for us. And being down, Emerald scored 22 unanswered points, and it didn't look good. It didn't feel good.
It certainly didn't feel good.
But here, let me interject this though, real quick. I think I texted you on Saturday after the game, and I just wanted to know, what in the world did you guys do? What did you guys say at half? What did you do at the half to motivate the guys to turn it around? And your response was, we didn't really do anything. We just refocused and doing our job.
It came down to, well, first of all, you go through the first half, and we came out, flat would be the word.
Right.
It's a tough environment in some ways, because the stands on both sides are so far away from the playing field, and it's so much different to, I think, what our guys are used to at W.O. Varner every Friday night. W.O. Varner is just such an electric environment. That it just feels different, and then you compound that by our first road game, against a very, very talented opponent, and an opponent that I think will win a lot of football games this year. They've got some really nice pieces, and I kind of said that last week. So come out flat against a good football team. And we had some adversity we had to overcome too. We were down 2 defensive starters. One that we didn't know about until mid-morning on Friday morning. So it was a scramble to figure out exactly, how we were going to move the pieces around to make it work. And we tried a couple things, and a couple of them backfired, and then we had to adjust. And so there was a lot there. It was a complex situation. And when you throw that on top of, we didn't do a good job of being emotionally ready to play the game. We didn't play with it. We didn't play with the same energy that we played with early on, and things like that. But it was kind of you got into the second quarter and you're down 22-0, and the whole thing was. And I told our guys on the headsets, we need to get it to 2 scores. Get it to 2 scores. Okay. We need to get them in the halftime. We need to refocus, and we're gonna have a chance to win this thing, and we're gonna be fine. So it really just became about, and everyone's asked me, I got to know what you told them, and I'm like, I really didn't tell them anything, except I reminded them of what our plan to win is every week, and it was simple as this: like, all right, what's the plan to win? Well, be more physical. Well, we weren't. Okay, we were not the more physical team in the first half. We failed at that. Okay, all right, don't turn the ball over. We did. Be great on special teams. Those are 3 things we talk about every single week. And the 4th one being no dumb pre-snap, post-snap penalties. We did all of those things. I said, you fix those things and you're going to win the game, and you don't fix those things and you're going to lose the game. And it really was just reminding them of what got us to where we are in the first place, and we had to return to that, or if we wanted a chance to win the game. And you try to be calm, because the last thing they need in that situation is any more negativity. Like there was plenty of negativity. So you're calm and as the head coach, and I tried to make sure that nobody was panicking, and if I panic, everybody panics. So and as a testament to our coaches and our kids, I mean there was no blame game, there was no panic in any of our guys. Everybody was. Matt Mabry's in here, and he said this earlier to me this week. Like he was helping hand out snacks, and it's like it was almost eerie at they were just calm, and they had complete faith in their ability to come back and win the football game. And I felt that way too. I felt that way on the sidelines. Nobody was blaming each other. There was no division. I just felt like we needed to refocus, and I tried to use it as an opportunity to. One thing we haven't been good at the last 15 games or so is coming out and playing well in the second half, and I feel like it's improved this year. Thanks to Matt and Tara for handing out snacks at halftime. I think that's played a huge role in it. But we're in this situation now. This is something that we need to work on anyway, because we struggled coming out in the half, and I basically told them, I said, now you have no choice but to come out and play. You have no choice, but to come out and play. And we got a 3 and out. We go down and score, and then it kind of took off from there. I think they fumbled the ball on third down the next possession. We had them stopped. They were about to punt to us regardless, but I think if I remember right, they fumbled on the second series, and then before you blink, it was 22-20, and it's like, okay, this ball game, but it was getting the score right before the half was really big, because then it was able to, all right, we get a stop and a score and it's game on, right? But you don't expect necessarily to roll off 50 unanswered, but it's a special group it's a special group of players and coaches, and it was something that was. The first half was not fun, but the second half was a whole lot of fun to be a part of. So it was pretty cool Friday night. So
yeah, Coach, I really can't remember. I can't remember witnessing the game in person. I'm not sure if I've ever watched a game with that huge of a swing of momentum. But you're exactly right. Mr. Addison Davis is over here. He got a pick.
Oh man,
that kind of changed the momentum of the game.
He really changed the game. And he made several big plays. Like he had the 4th down play that he broke up, which was unbelievable football play. One that most people won't notice. He came up. They ran outside zone, and he comes up, sets the edge, and completely sacrifices himself, knowing he's not going to make the tackle. But he knew if he did his job, it would turn it back into the people who would make the tackle. And the common fan in the stand doesn't always see that, but as the head football coach, when you see those things, like I told our guys on Sunday that Jackson McCarley did the same thing on a 3rd down one time, maybe the series before, and I said those might have been the 2 of the best plays in the entire game, and nobody ever knows it unless you
don't get accolades over those, but you're doing your job.
But it's a huge play, and it's a huge part of playing great defense. To play great defense, you have to play team defense, and that's the only way it works. And see those guys do that was a lot of fun, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was one for the books, that's for sure. I have a feeling that people at home who weren't watching the game and saw the score were probably a little bit worried at the time. But I got confirmation from this table over here to our left that there was literally zero panic at halftime. I believe Jordan Hood's comment was, we're fixing to win this game.
Yeah.
So the kids are bought in. The kids believe you guys are not in panic mode, and came out and scored 43 points in the second half.
Yeah.
Allowed 0 points.
We blocked 2 punts, I think.
Right.
Play after play. It was a complete effort. It was offense, defense, and special teams. We kickoff team was excellent. We're kicking it deep and pinning them deep. So it was. And I think it was a testament to our culture. The fact that nobody really flinched. So
Yeah, and one thing that I could see that I don't know if everybody else could see, but we were so much more well conditioned than the opposing team on Friday night that I don't feel like they could keep up with us.
Yeah.
By the time we got to the third quarter,
Yeah.
we were just so well conditioned, and it was a little warmer on Friday than it had been the previous couple weeks. So you have a little bit of concern about cramping and all those things, but
well, and some of that's execution too. Like they were more tired in the second half because we ran more plays in the second half because we executed the plays that were called. And when you do that and the defense has to stay on the field, I mean, people get tired of tackling Aiden and Jalen Lyles and Jalen Robertson and all those guys. I mean, R.J. Bird came in there and lowered the boom on somebody late in the game. It wears on you. Our guys up front did a really good job of being physical in the second half. They were really, really physical. So it was it was just fun to be a part of.
Well, also a couple things I noticed from Connor this week, being able to throw the ball vertically, stretch the field with the pass. You have to, when we're able to stretch the field with the pass, complete those passes, and then it opens up a whole other game for Aiden and Jalen and all those guys. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, but being able to complete some big passes downfield was a game changer as well.
Look, playing quarterback's a hard deal. Like it really is, and having to go like Connor these first 3 games as a varsity guy. I mean, like the speed of the game is tremendously different than what it is on Thursday nights, and his. There's a learning curve there, and like you see spots where, you're like, okay, what are you doing, Connor? But then he plays extremely well and for periods of time too, So, and all of that's just part of the process. It's something he's going through. I mean, you can literally see him growing, and I thought you really saw that in the second half. You saw him progress, and he made some really big plays and some really big throws that were you got a glimpse into what he can be, and where we're going with that. So I thought he did a good job, and then it got Corey going, got Cam going a little bit more the other night. That's something we're still working on. It's just one thing. There's a multitude of reasons why it hadn't happened as like we'd like it to, but it's something that's got our attention, and we got Corey going, and that opened up passing. That opened up the run game. Now all of a sudden, so it's just. But Connor too pulled it down and ran a couple times that were big runs.
He's an incredibly good fake on the. No one had any idea that Connor had the ball when he pulled it in and ran a touchdown. So.
He's a very instinctive runner. Like he just has kind of a knack for
that read. He reads it really well.
He's kind of got a knack for reading things and understanding when he can pull the ball and when he can't. He likes to play quarterback sometimes like a linebacker, and I have to tell him you can't do that.
It can be a benefit.
It can, but at times it is benefit. But he's got a chance to be a good player, and we look forward to what he's going to do in the future. So but I thought he showed some maturation as far as the quarterback goes in the second half for sure. Made some big time throws that we needed him to make. So. And then Corey had 11 catches for 155 yards or somewhere on that. That's
real big night for Corey.
That's a real good night. 2 touchdowns. Jalen Lyles got in the end zone. So we had obviously Aiden got in his zone. So it was a good night. It was a good night for the growth of the offense, and hopefully we can continue that this week. So
yes, sir. Well, Coach, we're moving on to. This week's matchup against Woodmont. We're going to Woodmont, another away game this week. So just interject for the Woodruff Wolverine fans. Come to Woodmont, buy a ticket, watch the game. You won't be disappointed. Give us a little bit of insight to what Woodmont looks like this year, Coach. I know we played them last year. what can we expect to see when Woodmont comes on the field on Friday night?
I mean, well, first of all, they're a 5A school, right? So, that's always a challenge when you're playing a school that's a little bit bigger than you because just sheer numbers, and the more people you have, the more large people you have a chance of having as well, So I think it starts with them on the lines of scrimmage. They got some big bodies. They're pretty good on their offensive line. They got some big bodies on the defensive line. That we'll have to make sure that we account for and we take care of. I think they're young on offense at the skill positions. I had a freshman quarterback who played a lot last week. He didn't start the game, but he came in, kind of led them to a win. So they got a little bit of momentum there. Defensively, they play some odd, some even. They kind of mix it up. A lot of different cover three concepts on the back end, but they're mainly a cover three team on the back end. But you can tell they're well coached. Coach Boyd's doing a good job. I talked to him this week, and I made sure. I told him I can see them improving. I watched their scrimmage against Wren, and you see them, and then you watch their week 1 game against Seneca, and then you watch their week 2 game against Pendleton, and you can see them growing. You can see them getting better. You can see them doing things they weren't doing. They're now doing. And things that they shouldn't be doing, they're not doing as often. So you can see the growth. You can see their excitement. They got good energy on the sidelines. Their coaches have good energy on the sidelines. So, they've got some momentum right now, and they got some optimism and some just energy. But I think they're a good football team. So we're gonna have to be buttoned up. We're going to be ready to go. So.
Well, it'll be another good test for our guys as we inch closer and closer to region play. What are the keys to the Wolverines to get a win on this Friday night? What do we need to do to come home with a win against the Woodmont?
Be more physical. Don't turn the ball over and be great on special teams. And I mean, it's the same as every week. But we got to establish a run this week. We got to make sure we get Aiden going. We need to continue to grow. In the pass game, we need to continue to grow that part of our offense so that we can be more and more balanced. And defensively, we got to stop them from running the football. I think everything for them starts with their offensive line and their ability to run the football. And they've got a running back, and then the young quarterbacks. He's pretty mobile as well. So it'll be another two-headed monster type deal that we got to deal with. So we got to make sure we run the football and we stop the run. I think everything starts there for us this week. So and to continue to try to win the special teams battle. They got a really good kicker. He puts in the end zone most of the time. So we're gonna have to execute on offense to flip the field at times. And do a good job of that. So, but yep. So it's run the ball, stop the run. That's always a good recipe. So.
Yeah, well, I kind of had in mind that, getting that first away game kind of on the slate, getting our guys a little bit used to we're second away game in a row. Maybe I'm 100% confident that our guys have filed away what happened in the first 2 quarters this past week. So when we show up to Woodmont, that's going to be in their mind a little bit.
I think a big key, and this is not necessarily schematically, and this is what I told them yesterday, and I told them today. One of our 3 team goals is be the most excited to compete. And we've got to do that this week. We failed to do that in the first half of this, so we weren't the most. And we can't let the environment, we can't let anything else dictate our excitement to go out and compete. And that, so a big key, and it starts with us being the most excited team to compete, because they're gonna be excited. They're coming off a big overtime win, first win for their head coach. They're gonna have some energy. They're gonna have some juice, and we got to match that, and we got to be more excited to play the game than they are.
Sure.
And I think it all starts there. And then you get into the scheme, and then you get into all that stuff. But got to be the most excited to compete. That's something I've been stressing all week to them. And I hope they I hope they meet that challenge. I hope they answer the call, and I think they will. They know what they got to do. So
Have no doubt. Have no doubt, Coach. Um, any specific information about going to Woodmont? Do we have a clear bag policy? Any of that stuff in place going on this
I
week?
don't remember about clear bag policy. I would assume so. I know they sell tickets on GoFan. So
Online tickets available.
Yeah, I actually have a link for that. I can send it to you, Brad, if you want to post it.
Okay.
And stuff. But there is an online link where on GoFan where you can purchase tickets. And that's really all I know off the top of my head. So
Gotcha. Well, Coach, as always, we're pumped to be undefeated going into week 4. It's always a good feeling.
let's keep it rolling.
And we want to keep it rolling, keep the train moving the rest of the season. And just an incredible game this past week. If you missed it, I hate that you missed it. But you got another chance coming up this Friday to see our Woodruff Wolverines play against Woodmont. So you guys jump in the car, go buy some tickets, support these young men. They are playing incredibly good football right now, and improvement every week has been fantastic to watch kind of unfold. And so you guys get out there and support our Woodruff Wolverines as we travel over to Woodmont this week. Coach, anything else you want to interject before we wrap up tonight?
I don't think so. Go Wolverines.
Go Wolverines. That's always our best way to wrap it up with Coach Sloan. I tell you what, we've got a couple of guys sitting over here to the left that I think we're gonna try to talk into getting them to come up. Maybe Thomas. Let's see.
Thomas Watson.
Maybe we can get Thomas Watson real quick.
He's our Coach Doe. Which one you want up here?
Let's get Coach Doe.
Coach Doe, you want to come up here and talk to Brad for a minute?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. No, we can't let Thomas up here. Thomas already thinks he's too important. We don't need to blow that up.
That's great. Coach, we kind of got a chance to meet just a little while ago. I hadn't officially got a chance to meet you. For all the Woodruff Wolverine fans out there that are watching or listening online tonight, give us a little bit of insight. Tell everybody your name. Tell everybody maybe where you're from, a little bit about yourself, all those kind of things.
So hello, Wolverine family. My name is DeMarcus Doe. I'm from Williston, South Carolina. I played at South Carolina State. I won the national championship with Coach Pugh. We beat Coach Prime in 2021.
Nice. Not many people can say that.
Yeah, not many people can say that.
You beat Coach Prime.
Yeah. I moved up here around February. I got a job up here. I'm a speech pathologist. I work in the elementary school up here. And I had the opportunity to coach some of the kids like Cam and Aiden. And Corey Moats during the 707. They played on my 707 team that I was a part of. So that's how I got to meet them. And then I told Coach CJ Thomas, the cornerback coach, I was interested in the coaching. I was looking for, an opportunity. And he told me they had an opportunity at the school he was coaching for. So I got in contact with Coach Sloan, and he gave me the opportunity, and I definitely thank him for it.
Man, we're pumped to have you. And it's always great for our fans and everybody to get to know a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to play at South Carolina State for a legendary coach at South Carolina State. Was it? I've never really been around him before. Was he? What kind of coach was he? Was he? A stern guy? Like, how did all that work?
So one thing about Coach Pugh, he wouldn't give you anything. You had to earn everything. So you had to come to work every day. On your birthday, everything. He's a real man, come to work on your birthday. You got to come to work every day. And if you're not locked in, we got another player. So he challenges you every day in practice, in the classroom, in your dorms, every day to do the right thing. And, I greatly appreciate him for that because he made me the man who I am today. He one thing about Coach Pugh, he's all about giving you a chance. but it's about what you do with that chance.
Awesome.
So
I love
he's
it.
a pretty good guy.
Yeah, and he's one of the legendary coaches of the state of South Carolina
Yes.
across the board, and he had an incredible career down at South Carolina State. And so what was it like? Going in to play Coach Prime? We got to talk about that real quick. Going in to play against Coach Prime, what was the hype? I guess Shador was quarterback.
Mhm.
What was it like going into that game, knowing that they were going to bring their whole show with them, and everybody was hyping them up all year long? How did you guys respond to that? What kind of atmosphere was that for y'all being able to go play them?
So one thing about that 2021 team, we were always hungry. I think we finished the season 8-4, 8-5, and played in the Celebration Bowl. And Coach Prime, he had all the hype around him. He had his players, he had his son. They ran through the SWAC, but I think everything started the night before the Celebration Bowl at the banquet. They literally disrespected us in the banquet.
What? All right, you got to tell us what happened.
I'm not gonna say the chant they said on the podcast, but
Okay.
they really disrespected us.
I got you. I follow you.
Banquet, and we we took that to heart. So we came out the next day, our minds locked in, and we played our hearts out. I think they scored first. They scored in the first quarter on the first drive, I think, 7-0. And I don't think they scored again the rest of the game. They kicked the field goal.
Yeah, because what I remember, the way I remember it went down, when they came into that game, nobody gave y'all a chance. It was going to be Jackson State all the way, and they were supposed to just wipe the field with y'all, and that is not what went down.
Right, our defense always was our strength. So one thing about our defense, we told our offense, we go get stops, just help us out, and that's what we did.
Nice, man. That's got to be a cool memory for you to know that Dion and Shador went on to Colorado State, but y'all got it. You got the W in the Celebration Bowl before he was able to go on to Colorado. Well, tell us a little bit about your time here with Woodruff and coming from Williston into I don't even know your era of high school football. Probably were not quite aware of the legendary Woodruff Wolverines football. I don't know. Maybe you knew about Woodruff football before you came up. I don't know.
In high school, I've never heard of Woodruff. I've never heard of Woodruff. Matter of fact, when I first heard of Woodruff, I asked CJ, I was like, is that a Woodruff Road?
Yeah,
he was like,
kind of.
No.
That's at the end. We're at the end of Woodruff.
So my high school was a 1A football team.
Yeah.
We were very small. We probably had about 200 to 300 kids in my high school. I think my graduating class had 72. So, we weren't given anything there. We didn't really have many resources. So we had to get it out the mud there too. But
Gotcha.
once I came to Woodruff, Wolverine football, everyone is a big family here.
You learned, know what it was all about.
Yes. My first game, I definitely enjoyed it. I've been enjoying it ever since I've been around here. The family, people come watch practice. When I was in high school, nobody came to watch our practice.
Gotcha.
I see parents, I see fans out there. They come support you on Friday nights, even on away games. Like a lot of games you can't do without your
Woodruff
audience.
fans typically travel pretty well, man. So that's been a historically.
They were definitely a big part of last Friday on the comeback win. Keeping our players up.
For sure.
Keeping them fighting, so we get a W.
Nice, man. Well, listen, I sincerely appreciate you letting us talk you into coming up and share a little bit with you. Hey, we're honored that you're part of the Wolverine family, man.
Thank you.
Welcome to Woodruff. We're glad to have you here. Appreciate you investing in these kids.
Thank you.
And coming out and hanging out with them on a Tuesday night. Got a round of applause out here for you already. but
I appreciate y'all having me too.
Yes, sir, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see. We're gonna get Thomas up just for not tonight. Okay. We'll We'll plan to grab Thomas. We're almost at the end of our time anyway. We might grab Thomas next time. So he got out of it this time.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful to interview him.
That's right. Well, folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. As always, we are live Tuesday nights at Tap 3 on Main Street in Woodruff. Thanks again to everybody, all the staff, Ben Harrison here at Tap 3 for hosting us every week. And you guys get out and support the Wolverines this Friday as we go to Woodmont High School and looking to come away with win number 4. So you guys take care. Have a good evening, and we will see you again next week at the Woodruff Wolverines Coaches Show here live at Tap 3. Take care.